Good Friday afternoon or evening, wherever you might be. My name is Darren Pope, and Victor is not here. Wow. Why is he not here? I don't know. We'll find out, because I imagine he'll show up here in a few minutes. It's good to be back after about 3 weeks away, and now we are going to just see what happens, because quite a few things have happened in these past 3 weeks. Yeah, almost 3 weeks. So let's check this out. Let me actually here, we'll type away. You coming today? Let's see if coming today. Okay, we'll see what happens. So on Fridays we usually do the show. If you've never been around, we have a podcast that comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, and on Fridays we do the show talking about news of the week and whatever else might have happened during that week. And we have about 3 weeks worth of stuff to get caught up on. Before Victor gets here, though, let me call out one thing here real quick, because it's hey Karen, good to see you. Thanks for being with us today. I have a request, and this applies for both me and for Victor. If you are using either Jenkins or if you're using hey, I'm going to do something, then I'll get to you. Then okay. I'll get you to you. I feel like I feel like the dad again, right? I'll get to you in a minute. If you use Jenkins or if you use Crossplane, or you like either of the projects and you haven't started the projects yet, go do that. Now, if you don't use either one of them, don't go start them, right? Just because we're saying so. But if you use them, go start them. That's it. Is that okay? All right. I'm just going to leave it at that. So, Victor, I'm assuming you were on a meeting.
I was on a back-to-back meetings, yes. So, apologies.
No, that's fine. It's good. Lee, good to see you. Forgive me. Can I call you KS? Because
I'm going to try Komaraju.
Komaraju? Okay.
That's my best guess. Correct me.
Okay. All right, good. Anyway, thanks for showing up. You have been quite the busy traveler, and obviously meeting goer today.
Yeah.
Why do people put their meetings on Fridays?
I don't know. I mean, lately, because my calendar has mostly free spots mostly on Friday.
On Fridays, yeah.
When there are no better days, then Fridays should do.
Yeah. Anyway. I see you're wearing your Sivo gear.
That was on top of the pile today. I don't choose the clothes I wear. You take it from the washing machine, you put it on a pile. It. Exactly.
Yep. And then you start picking off the top.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I talked about Jenkins and Crossplane. There's a bigger story behind that, but just stating, start them if you like them. Marcin, good to see you. Grish, Mexico.
I envy your weather.
We're supposed to be having storms here this weekend. 60-mile-an-hour winds. So that's a lot, by the way. I don't know what that is in kilometers, but regardless. When you get above 2-digit wind in any measurement system, it's usually pretty... Yeah. It doesn't matter.
You're not going out for a stroll, right?
No.
Okay, that's the measurement.
So we got a thumbs up from Kamaraju. Good. First in, last out. Yes. Okay. Let's just get into it. Now, I've also changed something up here. I don't know, Victor, if you noticed it or not. The service that we use now gives us new ways to do layouts. Like, let's see if this actually works. See, like I could take us right now and size this up. I don't know if it's going to save or not. Let's see, update the layout. Now we're live a different way.
Okay. You have a new toy.
I have a new toy, and I should have played with it before actually going live. So let me save it here. Okay, we're back to the normal size. So I'm going to play with some stuff, but not today. We had 3 weeks of podcasts come out. I'm not going to go into any of the details on those, other than just stating 202, where we had Benji on from Shipyard. We had 203 with Ankit on. He's an ex-Googler, or Zoogler, I think is how they say it. I don't know if that's the proper term. It's ex letter X, Oogler. So I call it Zoogler. Talking about Aviator, and then also this week we had Itamar on from Rivery. So yes, so Grish gets it correct. I just don't know if it's X-Oogler or is it Zoogler?
I don't know, but so many people worked in Google that every second person I meet is an ex-Googler.
X-Googler.
Yes. That's you were supposed to be in minority, right? Before kind of, oh, it's so awesome. I'm in Google. Now kind of, oh, everybody's there. Or was.
Okay. So if you're not listening to the podcast, DevOpsParadox.com, any place you listen to audio, we are there. If you're in the States or wherever, doesn't matter. If you're on certain areas around the world, you have a special listening, we're probably there. So you don't have to just go to Apple Podcast or Spotify. You can pick what you want. Amazon came out with a new distribution of their Linux. Now, normally this would not be a big deal. However, what's one thing you normally do once you get a new Linux server? What's the first thing that you do?
Execute apt-get and see whether it works.
Just see if that works, and probably you're
Exactly.
going to do, if you're doing Debian base, you're doing an update upgrade, or if you're doing a Fedora base, you're just doing an update. Right? That's the very first thing you're going to do. This version is idempotent.
Okay.
There are no updates. The expectation is if you need to update it, you need to replace it.
Cool. That's what that's what people should be doing, even if they can treat it mutably. I mean, at least in cloud. Come on.
Right.
It's 2023.
So it is. So I'm sort of spinning it incorrectly, but it provides you deterministic updates through versioned repositories. In other words, if you spin up an instance and it was cut this date, then there is a matching version that's right beside it to do your updates. Right? And that's immutable infrastructure. That's what they're going for.
Good. There is no excuse not to do it.
Today.
Unless you're on bare metal, and we're not talking about bare metal today.
Correct. So I actually played with this. I did a video that's coming out in a few weeks on installing Jenkins on this. And there were a few things that I had to do differently. Not major, nothing that couldn't be figured out, but it was like, oh, okay, this is what this means. So if you are an AL2 user and you're used to spinning up instances now and you're used to patching things, well, guess what? Patching is no longer going to be sort of a thing. It's replacing. So get ready to change all your processes now if you're going to be using Amazon Linux.
Let's face it, those who didn't change processes so far are not going to use this operating system anyways.
Well, maybe not. They may just not know. Because this is like, oh, this is the new Amazon Linux? Okay, great. I'm just going to use that without understanding the big changes that are underneath the hood.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true.
Let's just say you just don't want to get caught. You just don't want to get caught. That's what I'm saying. And it was also fast. It was fast. I don't know what they're doing, but... And they're also doing 2-year cycles. So
Yeah, I mean, of course, even if they didn't do anything, right? Just being baked in instead of starting the random processes when the VM starts and setting it up. And of course, it's faster.
Yeah. Well, Bill says here, if you're building your own images, you always have an immutable from image. What's the difference?
I'm guessing that Bill is talking about container images.
Container
right?
images. This is the
yeah,
AMI.
it's the same thing.
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, same concept, right? Should be. I've only worked with it for 2 days, so I need to go back and spend more time with it. Because this can't. Oh, this is the weird thing. So once you boot it into it or connect it into it, you get this little bird. I think it's a bird. Looks like a bird.
Maybe. Pigeon?
They are also distributing it as, come on, AWS. It's container image, not Docker image. We know why you're doing Docker image because it gets you more link juice, but come on. It's a container. See, but then they go here, container image right here. Maybe
You put
that's a
both
transition.
for search engine optimization. You put both.
Right. Which is what they're doing. I haven't played with that image yet. Because I needed an instance to see how it played. But anyway, that's to me that was the big news from AWS. GitHub Copilot X. Do you remember this?
Yeah. When
It's
everybody misunderstood that X means X and not 10.
Well, it's actually X.
Yeah, in this case, it should be X, I guess.
It is X. I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Wait, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with it? Not with you, sorry.
Both are probably correct. I don't know. I don't know why I don't like it.
This specifically or AI in general?
No, I'm okay with AI in general.
Because to me, it's so much easier to simply type code and have AI assist me than go to some browser window or some special extension in Unity interface in Visual Studio Code or what's not, and then ask and then get and then copy and paste, all the stuff. To me, Copilot is my choice right now among AIs when developing. Or anything, really, writing text, anything.
I thought you were going to say to open up to go to Stack Overflow. No. I don't know. I'm just, there's still something in the bottom of my gut that's telling me something's not right. And I just don't know what that is yet.
I don't know what's wrong or right here, but I do know is that we are looking at yet another wave that will result in people falling behind for rejecting something new. That's what I think.
You mean like me?
I mean, like, people who at the time, even though it failed ultimately at the time, kind of, no, I'm never going to use NoSQL, right? Or, no, I'm never going to switch from C to Java, and so on and so forth, right?
I'm curious to see, you can enroll repositories and technical previews for PRs. The PR one makes sense to me. Here's I think part of the beef with me right now is the price of GPT-4 and how that's just being rolled up into this.
Okay.
Like it's just buried in there. And it's, again, there's my concern for this is because it's so stinking expensive to actually make any calls against GPT-4. But that's hidden right now in this.
So what's the price of Copilot? You don't need subscription to GPT-4,
Copilot,
right?
No, you do. Well, you don't need a subscription for GPT-4, but if you're going to use GPT-4 by itself, standalone, you have to have credits. And to make a call is something like 5 cents a call.
Okay, but is this using GPT-4?
It is. Copilot
It
X
is.
is using, yes, under the hood. But you don't see it. You don't know that it's GPT-4.
Yeah, okay, of course. I'm never sure whether it's GPT-4 or it's directly OpenAI or what it is, but yeah.
Right, because up here at the top it says, so the first was GPT-3, and then I was reading it was GPT-4. Here it is. We're not only adopting GPT-4 model, but we're also introducing chat and voice, which was a big complaint actually about the initial Copilot is there wasn't chat and voice. And then Copilot pull request. I think my problem is right now I think Copilot was $60 a year. Does that sound about right?
Okay. I got it for free.
You get it for free.
They like me, yes.
But for those of us that actually have to pay for things, I think it was like $5 a month.
Okay.
My concern is with this, that $5 a month is going to go to something like $40 a month.
Maybe, I don't know.
Or maybe it will follow the model of GitHub Actions and think of it as a build minute. So however much you use it is how much you're going to pay for it.
I mean, maybe...
Which I'm okay with. I'm okay with it. You just need to know.
So there are two parts, right? Assisting while you're writing code. I don't think that there is power on earth that could make you charge that by minute or anything like that, right? Because what's it going to do? Kind of silently work and then silently not work while you type something in Visual Studio Code, right? It would be very strange and difficult to implement it based on charging time, right? Now, they could extend and say additional pricing for pull requests. That I can understand how it can be done by pull request or something like that. But the assistance that goes through Copilot from, let's say, Visual Studio Code, I don't see other way than flat pricing, to be honest.
I can, and that's the problem. My concern is this drug that I'm now taking, I'm used to this price, and then all of a sudden it gets 10x'd. And now what do I do? Right, and that's going to be the part that, that's the problem. I think that we just don't know yet, and I'm not stating that that's what's going to happen.
I'm also looking at it from the perspective that I feel that GitHub was always fair with what they were charging so far. I'm not saying that that cannot change, but they were never unreasonable, I believe.
No, I agree with that. In fact, historically, they have been really good about, at least for the professional, like the pro, just the individuals, the price has dropped. Right? It went from 84 a year to 48 a year. They should have gone to 42 since that's the answer to everything. But they didn't. So anyway, I'm interested in this. I'm hesitant. When things seem to be too good to be true, they usually are. So I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. And I just don't know what that shoe is. But I guess we'll find out over time. So anyway, Copilot X. For people that don't understand this, don't worry about it. You don't need to know. It's not that important. Now, alongside of that, Microsoft also has introduced their Microsoft 365 Copilot, which goes into their Office suite. Expect Microsoft to have embedded anything Copilot. They're probably just going to use that phrase everywhere. They're probably going to embed that everywhere.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's just,
I mean, that's the Microsoft has now advantage, and they're going to exploit it. And that's what also makes me think that it's not going to be exaggerating the pricing, right? I think that Microsoft now is the phase of we are trying to grab the market first, rather than
what Bill says here. Okay, here I got to change something here. Here we're going to do this because as soon as I put the comment up, we're gone. Which isn't a bad thing. I'll leave this out there. That's fine. For a professional programmer, AI-supported paragraph programming, anything that doubles your speed is worth $40 a month. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Problem is I'm not a professional programmer anymore.
First that. Second, I have no problem paying 40 or make it even 100 a month, right? That will increase my speed. The problem is that those things accumulate, right? There is this, there is that, there is, and you end up with like 20 different services or more that you're paying every month, and then that can accumulate. It's never one.
It's how many streaming services do you need? So it's this would be another one of those things that if I have a limited budget for subscriptions, and if I had to pay for Copilot, I probably wouldn't at this point, because never mind. Yeah, it's the same thing. Netflix and Disney, which I have both. One of them needs to go, but that's a different conversation. Okay, let's go back over to this. So that's expect Microsoft to embed everything. Now, this one's probably a little closer to you. This came out last week. Again, I got about 3 weeks worth of just hodgepodge news items here. So when 125 was announced, the official endpoint changed from Kate's GCR.io to registry.kates.io. How many things could happen? Have you heard anything breaking yet?
Not for that reason.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't heard. I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but it's usually embedded, right?
Yeah.
It's embedded in Kubernetes distributions you're using, right? Maybe some people, I'm guessing here without really knowing, maybe if you're managing it through Kubeadmin or something like that, not many people do that.
I hope not. Not anymore. But anyway, in case you weren't aware, all of this started last week, and then the old registry is frozen starting next Friday. I think it's next Friday. No, that's Monday. Is that Monday? Yeah, Monday, the 3rd.
One of these days.
Yes, soon. So either use Gatekeeper or Kyverno. We've talked about those a few times.
Not much will happen. Let's put it that way, right? It's
Well, it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen, right? This is going to be like to me, this is almost Y2K level.
yeah, exactly. With the difference, right? Kind of, if you try to pull something now from first of all, registry is frozen, did not disappear to begin with, right? And then you change manually version that is of an image that is not there anymore. What will happen? Nothing. Kubernetes will try to pull it. It will fail. So it will still be on the older version of that something, whatever that is. Not a big deal. I'll assuming that you are looking at what you're doing, right?
Assuming. A lot of people just say, update, update, update.
Yeah. But the important thing is that the way it works, right? In most cases, it will not break what is running. It will just not run whatever you want, but stay where it was.
Right. Okay. Just in case you weren't aware, if things start breaking weird on Monday when you try to go to 126, this could be it. Got a handful of tools. Envio. Envio? Envio? I don't know. Names. I'm not doing very well today.
Must be envio, I guess.
Anyway, you can manage environment variables. Now, I thought this was cool, but what's doing is it's encrypting a bundle, I'm going to use the word bundle, of whatever environment variables that you need, and you can save them and load them back up. I don't know, maybe? There's other ways to do this.
You know how I manage my variables? I have them all in Google Secret Manager. And then I just execute gcloud, this and that, and source it. That's it.
Variation on a theme. Yet another way to do it. Anyway, that's envio. It's newish.
Nice.
And it comes out of, I'm not sure who's using it, but
Humble Penguin.
Humble Penguin.
Cool name.
Let's see. Let's see what Humble Penguin is. We have a minute. Bored out of my mind. Okay, yeah. His contributions in the last year, a little small, but yeah. Nice little project, maybe.
Yeah.
He has a use for it. This one I thought you might like. Kubernetes Pod Restart Info Collector. Now, you've never had anything you've written and deployed to Kubernetes just fail in a pod,
Not
right?
today.
Today. And that's pretty good because it's almost end of day for you. So it collects information, the reasons, the pod status, whatever, and then it can Slack it to you. It can send you details of what happened. And then you just install it via Helm. Off you go.
Nice.
I heard somebody saying that this would be a good thing to add to Robusta.
I mean, to be honest, I think that those things first go to your metrics store or whatever you're using. First that. And then after that, we can talk about sending it to Slack or wherever you want to send it.
Yeah. And this hasn't been released in a while. It's been a few months now. January 3rd, so almost 4 months. So anyway, that's a long name. See, okay, so I like this, that we get really long names and then we have really short names. But in this case, it's just a slug, so I don't know what to call it.
Oh, so it's Kubernetes Prick.
Moving on. AWS.
I was just reading the first letter of
I know
each
you
word.
were. So from AWS Labs comes the Amazon S3 Tarball, or Tar tool. Let's say that 3 times fast. If you don't follow the AWS Labs organization, you should. Because there's
They do a
always
lot
things
of stuff, yeah, and especially recently.
It's very interesting. So have you ever wanted to be able to get a bunch of files off of S3, but you didn't want to download them all separately? Well, with this tool, it'll automatically tar it up for you within S3. Now you have a single file, and then you can download it or upload, which is interesting. Copy existing one into a, it's just, you will always find things here that you'll go, I never knew I needed that until now.
You know, the problem with those tools is that usually my brain is going to forget about it, right? Because I don't need it right now. And then when I need it, I will not know about it. And then 6 months will pass until the next time I need it, right?
Just always go back and check AWS Labs. See what happens.
Rewatch all Friday streams.
Oh my gosh. Don't do that. I mean, do, because that means more ad revenue for us. But no, don't do that.
We might get to the full $1, you mean?
Yeah, I think over the past 90 days, we've earned $7. $7.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. Hey, seven's better than 0. Yeah, I don't mind sharing that. Okay, so maybe that's the Amazon S3 tar tool. We were talking about Copilot X. This is like, this is CodiumAI. Of course it's AI, right? It is meant, and I think this will get subsumed by what's actually going to happen in Copilot X. It helps you write real tests according to their thing. So if I want to generate a test for this Gaussian elimination, and I click on generate test, then it will go off and generate everything for me.
Guess what? Copilot does it as well.
Already does it today, but I'm thinking it's going to get...
I don't know whether it's doing it better or worse, so I'm not comparing it.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is even if Copilot is doing it today, what's going to happen with Copilot X based on 4, how much better is test generation going to be with that model versus the 3 model? That's the question. So that's why I'm thinking a lot of these tools, although cool, they are point solutions that may or may not be better than what's being provided by GitHub themselves. Now, if you're not on GitHub, and you're not in the GitHub ecosystem at all, then these point solutions may be your answer. Right?
Yes, exactly. Unless you want to open ChatGPT in a browser.
Right. So this is from Codium. And you just drop it into... I think they're only doing Visual Studio Code right now. But, of course, I believe JetBrains suite is coming along soon after this.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so here's how it's different.
Okay.
Let's see how it's... So unlike general-purpose code completion or generation tools, CodiumAI focuses on code integrity. Generating tests that help you understand how your code behaves, finding edge cases and suspicious behaviors, making your code more robust. Yes. Maybe they've taken the models and tweaked it for testing. That's a possibility. But I imagine over time that GitHub will do the same thing. Right?
What I'm curious, let's assume for a second, you correct me if you know, that this is working silently in the background while you're writing something code, right? Or tests or whatever it is, right? I'm going to make that assumption. Now my question is, are we going to see different solutions fighting with each other in the background? Kind of, because when I type, am I triggering both Copilot and this?
Well, think about how many different extensions you have in your browser. How many times are those things competing against each other?
Yeah.
And then what happens when you, in what you're talking about, in right now, Codium, I expanded the last one. It's just Python, JavaScript, and TypeScript today. VS Code and JetBrains. So forgive me, I was incorrect. JetBrains is there today. Java coming, great. But there's no Go. talk about that later. What's going to happen when the models start fighting themselves? I'm more concerned about the models fighting themselves than Skynet happening. Because that could cause a lot of problems. Not so much from a probably a technical issue, but from a cost perspective. Because if you've dropped in, if you were using a solution to where you had to provide your open API key, it's going to go back to like it's 2008 at AWS. Credit card's just going to keep on ticking off. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I thought it's interesting. It's just if you're in the ecosystem, JavaScript, TypeScript, or Python, hey,
nice.
Look, any kind of help you can get for that is always a good thing, I would think. Of course, we're going to have you seen this one? This is the one that's been running around.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but okay, no, I saw another one.
Okay. So, Kubectl AI, create an Nginx employment with 3 replicas. Boom.
Yeah.
And then, would you like to apply this?
Nice.
Do you remember the other one?
I don't. It's.
I think this was the one that. This is the one I saw flying around everywhere.
No, and the other one was. I cannot remember the name. I'm so terrible with names. The other one was more. Hey, tell me what's going on with my cluster.
Oh, I did see that one. And in fact, no, that's not this one. I didn't capture that one for whatever reason. Because I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't that interesting. To me.
To me, actually, that one is potentially more interesting because this is competing with Copilot.
Right.
I'm not saying that Copilot is doing better job or worse job and stuff like that, but I type something and Copilot finishes it for me, right? This one is evaluating cluster at the runtime, so to me it's kind of sufficiently different from Copilot.
Right. I'm trying to find that one, and I'm not finding.
Yeah, if you type AI and
Kubectl, it's this one, I think.
Maybe. Alex Jones?
Yeah, it's this one.
Yeah, Alex Jones, exactly. When I see the name, I remember it. Yeah.
So you just say explain, blah, 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 and wait for 10 hours while it's processing, and then off it goes.
Yeah. That one is interesting.
Okay.
I mean, the other one is interesting as well. I mean, I think that we're going to have a bit of a year of madness, with dozens of tools appearing every week. But then we're going to probably settle on a couple of them, as it usually goes.
Yeah, I think. I think it's going to be more than a year, though.
This is the same with every hype, right? Right now, it is very hard to distinguish, hey, who's been working seriously on something and who just spent a day wrapping something into something else and put this new sticker on it, right? I'm not saying that any of the tools you mentioned today are that, but it's very hard to distinguish, hey, which one is serious? Because every single company will be putting AI. I guarantee, not every single, but half of the projects we're going to see for the rest of the year, especially next year, are going to have word AI there somewhere. I guarantee that 100%. Doesn't matter what the tool is about. Completely relevant.
Moving on. It makes me angry. So I saw this one, watchhttp, and I was scratching my head trying to figure out why would I use this instead of just watch? Because if we look at the example, I could do watch and curl all day long, right? No big deal there. In fact, you taught me that like years ago, right? piping to JQ. Well, the difference here is how it's doing things with what you can pass into it. Like you're telling it, give me JSON back, which you don't do with. Because then if you noticed here, I didn't have to do that. So that's JSON versus doing YAML versus whatever. I think those are the only two. So it's interesting. I feel, now this is the one that's interesting, a live graph of Kubernetes resources using Kubectl and Graphviz. So the earlier one's like, okay, whatever. But here, being able to watch, so think about recording this. Right, you're capturing this as pods are coming online.
Yeah, exactly. Now you would need to convince me not to use K9S.
I agree.
I'm kidding. But nice. Why not?
But for this use case, though,
Yeah.
right, to where I need to capture this for like what I'm doing here as a demo. It's, of course, K9S, you could do that too. Anyway, it just seems like a smarter watch, but I'm not exactly sure still why it was done. But
Why not?
why not? I think this is going to. I saved this for last because let's see if you think this is cool or not. Now,
Okay.
obviously, I live in the U.S., so I have my own set of problems. You live in Europe, and y'all have your own set of problems.
Okay. Is it a tool that is going to bring me your problems to me?
Well, it make a PDF look like it was manually scanned.
What? What? Okay.
I live in Germany. While many people think there's things here, we still need to sort out bureaucracy, right? That's because I've heard this from other people that live in Germany.
Okay.
Everything relies on paper and handwritten signatures. You can go so far that a scanned document image is preferred over a nice sharp PDF. I don't own a printer or a scanner, so occasionally I go to the copy shop to get official business done. So basically he's using image magic to scan a nice PDF into something that looks like it was scanned. Just so he could submit it off to... It's like fax machines, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying, when you have to work your way around
It's kind of
the
when you
craziness...
cannot change the system, then embrace it. Embrace the system in a way, right? Okay.
You work your angles.
FYI, in last 5 years or something like that, let's say 5, I had quite a few things that I rejected precisely because of this. Kind of when somebody says, "Hey, can we do this or that?" and I say, "Okay, here's a DocuSign," and they say, "No, you need to sign it and send it on a paper." I mean, when I say paper, no, but sign it, print it, sign it on a paper, and then scan it and then send it back to me. My answer is, sorry, I'm not your man. Thank you for the opportunity. We're not going to do anything.
Yeah. Especially... Now, the other reason I picked this is check this out on the right-hand side. So as I scan down, it shows the viewport as I'm scrolling through the page.
Oh, that's nice. That's really cool.
It's
like that.
It's a small thing, but it's very, very interesting. So anyway, make a PDF look like it was scanned. Sad. I've got all your videos here. We'll just talk about them real quick. So ephemeral environments.
That one resulted in quite a lot of stones thrown at me. Yeah.
Really? Why?
Yeah. You cannot do it, you shouldn't do it, and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, sometimes you cannot do it, sometimes you shouldn't do it, but very often the comments are... my interpretation of messages, comments, very often not in public, is you say you shouldn't do it, and I translate that to you're saying that you cannot do it, hence everybody else shouldn't do it. I believe that ephemeral environments, I'm not saying that it's applicable 100%, but that's a must. when possible.
Right. Observability. Okay.
Yeah, that was more like an experiment. Hey, well, okay, can I do something within an hour, and then something being somehow meaningful? Very different from my other videos, though.
Okay. And then finally, this week, I've seen a lot of rambling about this week, or rumbling, not rambling.
Yeah.
What is going on with this?
The way I see it, and many don't agree, is that we have a standard now. Just like we have standard for OpenTelemetry, right? And I want the tools to embrace the standard and build value on top of it. I don't want tools to disappear, but I don't want to see... from now on, I need a good justification why a tool is using a different API than this. I'm open to seeing a different API, but it needs to be because we cannot do this.
And that would be the only reason to not use that.
Yeah, but you know that's a problem with many. Many are having the same problem. Is that you have the first mover advantage, right? We have tools in the policy space, especially around Kubernetes, that started a while ago, when we didn't have anything reasonable, and they have a first mover advantage, which is great. Many great tools. I'm not going to name them here. But now we have a standard, and it's going to take a while until that standard becomes part of Kubernetes. Right now, you need to enable it yourself, enable alpha channel or something like that. So there is sufficient time for tools to adapt to it.
When is that supposed to go GA?
I don't know. And I made a mistake in the video. I said it's going to be baked into Kubernetes when it becomes beta, but that was the old policy of Kubernetes. Now it's going to be baked in when it goes GA version 1. So
Right.
I don't think that it's mentioned when. To be honest, I wouldn't mention it when, because how do you know when?
Yeah. Keep an eye on the cap. So eventually, so it's not even at a release announcement yet. And here's the cap that is associated with it. It's 3488.
There you
go. Okay.
It's really now that Kubernetes is kind of mature, stable, stuff like that. Now we have advanced notices, kind of like, I don't know whether we're talking half a year, 3 years, I don't know how much, but there is advanced notice both for users and vendors, so I think it's great.
I think Bill calls it out here. I think the standard's great, same as Ingress. Well, the Gateway API is...
Gateway API, that's the best example, right?
Yeah. Okay, and then let's go back to your 3 with Whitney. We had SchemaHero with databases.
Yeah, and Liquibase, yes.
And Liquibase. And then you got a little deeper.
Not deeper, wider.
Oh, wider, sorry, correct.
Yeah.
This one's wider. And then finally, you finished chapter 1.
Yeah, it's done.
How many? Well, chapter 1 is done.
Exactly. Now we have another 3-4 years and we're finished completely. Assuming that CNCF does not get
Add
new
anything new.
projects.
Yeah, no more new projects.
Which is such a stupid assumption that I'm embarrassed that I said it.
How deep are you going? Are you only going... Do you go all the way to Sandbox, or do you... I can't remember your constraints.
So all projects.
All projects, okay.
That are... So there was a bit confusion with some projects and stuff like that. Again, not going to name. The only projects that are donated to CNCF are included, right? CNCF is so confusing that nobody understands, right? So there are a lot of companies and projects that you will find there on the list, but they're not donated to CNCF, but more like member companies and things like that.
So that's the first constraint: is it first has to be already be donated to CNCF.
Yeah.
Before it even shows up on your radar. Okay.
It can be any status, sandbox,
status.
graduated, anything. Yeah.
You know what? We haven't looked at the landscape in a while. Let's see how bad it is today.
So
Trying to find just I'll do that one. There we go.
Yeah. And that's now you need to filter over there.
Yes.
For that's not the one I'm looking usually. Card mode maybe. I don't know.
There's card.
Okay, when you go to organization maybe or project, you will see kind of members or graduated. There is or cut. No, I don't try. Yeah, exactly. So now you see. Actually, I'm using only the first 3. Those exactly, and member projects are out, and then that reduces the list drastically. I mean, drastically to 200 plus.
Right.
And by the way, 200 plus. That's excluding.
It's 150 actually. Looking up here, so 150.
There we go, 150, and then you need to add the Kubernetes SIG projects. Like you will not see customize here, right?
Right. Okay. If you had to pick one today, and you hadn't worked with it yet, which one would you sort of like? I want to go play with that now.
I can tell you what I'm playing with right now, but it's not in CNCF.
Okay. Go ahead.
KCP.
KCP.
Yeah.
That's one.
That's the
KCP
one I'm...
with what was it? I saw that with KCP, and there was another K word it was associated with. Or K.
There is
acronym.
KCP Edge as well, which is I'm not sure yet whether it's a spin-off project or I'm not 100% sure what's the relation between KCP Edge and KCP. But yeah, that's the one.
A sub-project KCP.
Yeah. It opens so many questions and opens so many doors that I'm still very confused myself.
You're confused?
All the time.
Okay. I've been sort of looking at this too, and it's like, I don't know.
Now, the documentation, I'm going to tell you, the documentation is very scientific. It's more like reading, if you ignore getting started part and read anything else, it's more like reading science paper than something that really helps. This one actually doesn't even have much documentation, but if you go to KCP, then kind of very, academic.
Let's see. Okay, that's not.
You need to search for KCP Kubernetes.
Thank you. Otherwise, we're looking at basketball.
And here's
players.
my biggest complaint for KCP: the name. Because if you install the CLI and you type KCP, do you know what you're getting? Kubectl CP. So Kubectl CP has an alias as KCP, and then depending on where it's placed in your shell, whatever it's called, RC file, you don't know which one you're gonna get.
Kubernetes-like control plane. Okay, so why do we need a Kubernetes-like control plane?
So think of this as, so if you think of control plane as something that is managing stuff, doesn't matter whether that's Kubernetes clusters, other Kubernetes clusters, or other resources or what's not, right? If you think of it as control plane, literally, then there is no good reason why you would run pods, for example, there, right? You're actually using it to disseminate and control stuff rather than run stuff. And right now, if you use Kubernetes for that, you are running pods. I mean, you might not be running pods, but you have the capability to run pods. So let's put it this way, right? If I would say that Kubernetes is equivalent to Ubuntu, and I'm using now random Linux distribution, this would be equivalent to BusyBox or Alpine. Very stripped down. It's extremely small, extremely fast. You need to build stuff on top of it, or just use it as is, right? But
right. Who contributed this?
I think the majority comes from IBM.
Is it IBM or Red Hat or IBM?
Yeah, I'm saying IBM just to kind of.
Higher level. Yeah.
I'm not sure what is what now there anymore.
Well, the reason why I'm saying that is OpenShift MergeBot. Here's
yeah. So IBM
Andy
Red Hat.
is Red Hat. Not sure about him. Hey, there's somebody from Barcelona.
Hey.
Okay.
That's kind of, if you would ask, hey, what's the most exciting thing for you in this quarter? This is the answer. I don't know where it's going to lead me, but that's the one.
Kubernetes at its core, no fork, no fragmentation. It's basically, is it just pulling out the control plane and making it generic-ish?
Yeah, making it basically removing all the controllers and the APIs and just limiting it to, and putting its own, couple of its own constructs on top of it, right?
Yep.
Like multi-tenancy that you just passed is a great example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of thinking about multi-tenancy, how do I actually implement multi-tenancy on the destination? You can actually think about it from the control plane perspective, right? This is where everything enters. And this is where we solve tenancy. And then it goes here or there or wherever.
So it's basically, I'm going to put it this way, which is wrong. Gateway API on steroids. For this use case,
Yes.
this one use case.
So I think a better analogy would be, and I'm pretty sure you remember it from back in the days. You know when we had tunnel servers?
Yeah. Same thing.
And then if you want to do something somewhere, you cannot go directly to that something.
Go
to that server.
And
from there you can go further, right? Or do things.
That makes sense. API as a service. No walled garden. Compliments it. Which is what we've been talking about anyway, right? The control plane is really what matters.
Yeah. I mean, you know my interest, right? I'm very vested into, I'm going to use the wrong word, but proving that Kubernetes is not only about running containers.
Correct.
That's just a beachhead.
Yep.
And if you remember, many times I repeated that I'm willing to make a bet with anybody that Kubernetes API, this will outlive containers. That's my bet. I'm willing to place any amount into that bet.
Here's my other way to think about this, being old guy. This is the 2020 version of the ESX control plane.
Yeah. In a way, yeah.
I mean, because there's a lot of implementation details in ESX. But when you step back and look at what it does at its core, that's what this is.
Exactly. That's one way to look at it. Another way would be to look at it. That's kind of, AWS or Azure or Google API, right? Which is entry point to anything you do in any of those. Just that now we have that for potentially everything, not only those specific providers.
Okay. It sounds like there's a deep, dark rabbit hole you're going down on this.
There will be a video. Give it a month.
There'll probably be a few videos, is what I'm guessing.
There will be a video
Over
about
time.
KCP and then probably a few videos that kind of go into more practical kind of use case combinations with stuff.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, are we here next week? I can't remember if you're gone next week or not. Next week is
here.
Easter. Or is it?
Next. I'm here. I'm not traveling next week, and I'm not traveling week after next. And then it's Amsterdam. And I did not yet check what's happening Friday that week in Amsterdam, but it's too early.
It's too early. Because Amsterdam, by the way, if you don't know what that is, it's KubeCon.
Exactly.
So Easter is next.
Yeah.
It is next
No,
week.
Easter is next week. Yeah.
So Good Friday's next Friday. We might be here. I don't know. I don't know if you're going to be around or not. We'll figure it out.
the only way how I know that there is some, so I don't know anymore based on my work that there is a holiday coming, because I don't distinguish anymore holidays from not holiday stuff. My way to distinguish is, hey, my daughter is not going to school next week. There must be a holiday.
Well, it must be a holiday. Yep, that's exactly it. Okay, let's wrap it up. Golly, we went a lot longer than I thought we would.
Yeah.
And for people that were around at the very beginning, thank you for your grace for dealing with me being solo for a few moments. Because I was looking and looking and looking and looking, and I went to 0, and I was still looking and looking, and okay, here we go.
Yeah, this guy forgot about it.
Okay, that's fine. Life goes on. Life goes on.
This guy has meetings he cannot avoid.
Do you have a meeting right now?
No.
Oh,
No, this is the last one for today.
okay, good. All right, thanks everybody for being here. We will, okay, let's think about next week again, because Monday you have video. Tuesday, are you and Whitney taking a week off?
Yeah, so we're taking off until the first week after KubeCon.
So May, or would that be May? I don't know if that's May or not.
May or no?
Last of April, early
still,
May,
I
somewhere there.
think.
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
so you're off on Tuesday. All right. So Monday, Wednesday we have
Wednesday.
podcast. Thursday you do have an AMA on the schedule.
No, I haven't scheduled any AMA.
Well, excuse me.
No.
It was on the calendar. It's not scheduled.
Yeah, I need to remove it. Yeah, but
So that's not going to happen.
AMA.
Okay, good. So we'll take that off, and then we may or may not be here next Friday, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you might be at the undisclosed location next Friday.
No, I will be. I know. I'm going there
You're going to be there
tomorrow morning,
regardless.
so I will be at the undisclosed location. I can, if you're in, if you don't. So I'm available. Yes.
Okay, we'll see. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will probably see you next week. If not, be sure to catch us on Monday or Wednesday, and we'll talk to you then. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.